All right, let's get started so we can be sure to cover as much content as possible. Welcome everyone to the Partnering Power Tools webinar for the 2021 Bio Digital Conference. We are so excited to have all of you join us today, whether you were able to join our introduction to partnering webinar several weeks ago, or whether you're new on this one, we've got some great information to share with you. But before we go on, really quickly, we'd like to give a big thanks to our partnering system sponsor, Johnson & Johnson Innovation, and a quick message from them. J&J Innovation connects entrepreneurs, scientists, and emerging companies to resources and expertise so that together we can transform great ideas into life-changing solutions for people around the world. From customized deal structures and transactions to company creation, incubation, funding, and other startup services, meet their passionate team of science and technology experts to learn how to partner with them. And you can, of course, do that at BioDigital. We would also like to thank all of our Helix and Double Helix sponsors, Amgen, Avantor, Bristol Myers Squibb, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck on the Double Helix, and our Helix sponsors as well, AbbVie, Genentech, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Samsung Biologics, and Twist Biopharma. We really treasure your invaluable support and appreciate your continued support of Bio and of BioDigital. Quick housekeeping items. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, so you can submit questions in the Q&A panel inside of your Zoom. Feel free to throw in questions as we go along, and I'll take them at the end, or you can hold your questions for the period at the end, either way. And yes, if you have registered or if a colleague has registered for the webinar, you will receive within a few days a recording as well as a link to the slides. And we'll also post the webinar to Bio's YouTube channel for reference there. So what are we going to be talking about today? Very quickly, I will do an event overview of BioDigital. That there may be a little bit of repeat information in there, but we've got some recent new announcements that are great that we'd like to share with everyone. I'll do an overview of Bio one-on-one partnering in general for BioDigital, including how meeting scheduling works. And then we'll go into something a little different this year. We're going to look at some of our partnering power tools and those advanced features through the lens of the top questions that we have crowdsourced from customers. So Mackenzie, Nick, Christine, Lorenzo, thanks for kind of compiling this list of questions from customers. And so we'll really be able to look at features that people are asking about. And then I'll share some other power tools and helpful tips and tricks that will be useful for you. And then we will move into the Q&A session. So first, let's take a quick look at BioDigital at the big picture level. So first, of course, we've got Bio one-on-one partnering. It'll be 5 full days of partnering meetings running 24 hours a day from Monday, June 14th through Friday, June 18th. We also have the innovation stage this year, which is really awesome. There's a lot of content there in kind of individual stages, but there are great opportunities to meet startups and international groups and companies from many different sectors and network with them. So definitely encourage you to check out the innovation stage. And naturally, you know, no one does education the way that Bio does, and we have wonderful sessions and keynotes planned. And some of that education also includes company presentations. So 2 things. The application deadline is in 2 days. It's this Wednesday. So I would really encourage you, if you're considering company presentation, switch that maybe to a yes, because presenting companies typically have about twice as many meetings as those that don't present. So it gives you additional visibility. It gives companies an additional way of reaching out to you. And then because the company presentations are viewable before partnering starts during BioDigital, there's extra time for people to send you meeting requests. So definitely encourage you to get those company presentations in. And thinking also of our education, we have some fantastic speakers for our fireside chats and for our entire education panel. We've got really a first-class slate of folks from industry and institutes and government and more. So hope that you will be able to take some time to participate in some of our chats and with some of our speakers. And here is just a snippet of some of the wonderful folks that we have featured on the speakers. I'm not going to read through everyone. There's, of course, more information on the BioDigital website, but we're really excited to have such an accomplished list of people sharing their knowledge and information with us this year. We also have an extensive list of focus areas. Don't worry, I'm not going to read these all off at you, but the take-home message is that BioDigital really runs the gamut across therapeutic areas, business development topics, and even the bioeconomy. So there's not just something, but some things for everyone at this event. And that is, I don't promise for that to be my last corny quip of the webinar, but you may just have to bear with me kindly. Now, let's look at the partnering system itself and how partnering is going to work for BioDigital. So quick review here. Again, partnering happens 24 hours from the 14th to the 18th of June. There is an option for you to just have automatically provided Zoom links that are private to your particular meeting. And so that's something that we have enhanced specifically for this event and this year. We have also made meetings be able to be automatically rescheduled in addition to scheduled. But you at the same time have flexibility. If you want to choose your own meeting times and do that self-scheduling, you can do that. And even if you want to use your own meeting location for whatever reason, virtual meeting location, you can do that as well. And we've also improved our homepage for some additional visibility and layout reasons. Now, this, especially if you were not able to join our last webinar, this is a really useful slide looking at how meeting scheduling works. So there's three big options. The one that the vast majority of people, I looked at this last night, about I think 97, 98% of meetings, people are having be scheduled with the Biozoom links. So the auto scheduler comes in twice per day, every day, and schedules meetings that haven't been assigned a time. However, if you would like to choose your own meeting time, aka self-schedule, you can do that. It can help you, craft a very tightly controlled calendar, and then you can still just use the option for the automatic Biozoom links here. But if you really want to have maximum control, you can choose your own meeting date and time and put in your own personal meeting links. So really the big picture here is that we've designed it, no other partnering system, at least that we've seen, allows this level of flexibility. So we want to be able to accommodate all the different ways that people are working around the world. But again, the kind of automatic option is auto scheduling based on the availability in your calendar and using the automatically provided Biozoom links. Now, a couple of best practices that if you're on this webinar, you may already be familiar with. One is about personalizing your subject line and your meeting request. So I was looking at this as well recently, and the meeting request subject that is statistically least likely to be accepted is meeting request. Followed shortly after by meeting request with company name, right? That's not useful because everything in your message center is a meeting request by definition, and your company name is already shown. So if you think about it in the same way that we think about our email inboxes, if you see a subject line that is not attractive or isn't inviting, you may ignore that email, and that could happen as well with meeting requests. So come up with something that's tailored to the particular company that you are writing to. Also, make sure if you see a little no mutual availability flag on one of your meeting requests in your message center, you're going to want to open more calendar availability just so that everyone is clear. That red flag is right here or right here in the message center. So if you see that, your first step will be to open more calendar availability, but more on that later.
There is also a feature that allows you to share your contact information with other companies in your message center, and we encourage you to be sure to include your country code along with your phone number in that contact information card, or even if you're using your own meeting link, because we have such a wide international representation at BioDigital. Fourth here, please take advantage of the advanced search. There are a lot of really great tools in there that will help you to save time when looking through companies, and we'll talk more on that later as well.
Now, a couple of under the hood features, and we're going to look at these more in detail here shortly. If you didn't know, we have a relatively new feature where you can insert your LinkedIn profile link, and that'll add a nice little LinkedIn button to your delegate profile. So that's a convenient item. We're also going to talk about the advanced search and the message center filters, especially in the search. That's really where you can save a lot of time over the ways that people sometimes search by default. We'll look at how to share your contact information with other companies, and then also some of the exporting features, because we've been getting questions about some of those items. Now, we're going to look at a lot of our partnering power tools today and some of those advanced features through the lens of the top questions that we've been receiving, and I'll be sprinkling through other bits of information and helpful tips and tricks as we go along the way. But as we go into the live demo, I'll be using this question list as a base before we move over to our Q&A. So why don't we bounce right over into the partnering system live demo, and I'm just going to pull that up from my other monitor here. So the first question was, how can I help other attendees easily find me on LinkedIn? So great question. The thing that you're going to want to do is go to your delegate profile. So I'll go up here to my profile picture and click edit your personal profile. And then here in the delegate profile card, there is a LinkedIn profile link. So you can just go to your LinkedIn, paste in the entire link, include the HTTPS and all of that. And then what will happen is that when someone else sees your name, so if you're looking for someone, let's see, for example, if I just know that I have someone in mind, you'll see that there is a LinkedIn button right here, and you can click the button to go straight to that person's LinkedIn profile. So this is really great because lots of times you want to follow up with people on LinkedIn, and now you're looking through many different versions, of John Smith or whoever it may be. All right, question number 2, how do I update a virtual meeting location? So let's click on one of our scheduled meetings here, and I want to be very clear about the use case. The update button, so in this instance, we can see the auto scheduler has already given us a Zoom link provided by Bio. So what you could do is if you wanted to move a meeting to another time, let's say Monday at 9:30 doesn't work anymore, pardon me, don't click update, click reschedule because you want to choose another time for that meeting. If you are, for instance, using your own virtual meeting link and you want to change it, maybe you're a person that uses Teams and you need to switch the link over, then you could click update there for that, for instance. But if you're using the Bio meeting links, everything will be automatic for you and you won't need to click update there. Question number 3 is about how do I troubleshoot mutual availability issues? The system is saying I have this red flag, so what do I do about it? So in this case, for example, I've got this meeting request, no mutual availability, which means it can't be scheduled. Somebody or somebodies are blocking the meeting from being scheduled. So the best thing to do is just click schedule here, and you'll be able to see as you scroll down, lots of yellow, lots of red, no green time slots. There's no mutual availability here. But if you see, for instance, if I click on the one, it looks like, oh, actually there may be some slots that if the other company opened, we could perhaps be able to take that meeting. So what you'll want to do is perhaps write back to that other company and just ask about specific time slots that may be available. Fourth question is, what are the different ways that I can join a virtual meeting? So there are several different ways to access your virtual meetings during Bio Digital Week. So the first is if you are in your message center and you have, if you've clicked on a scheduled meeting, you can always just click the join button for those Biozoom links, and that will bounce you into your Zoom meeting. The probably more convenient option inside the partnering system is simply to use your partnering calendar. So here, anything in dark blue is going to be a scheduled partnering meeting. Remember that the teal color means that it's an education session, like a panel or a company presentation. And then the yellow items are for personal events or personal notes that you or a colleague may have added to your calendar. But from your calendar, you can simply click on the Zoom link, and that will take you to that meeting. So this is a Biozoom link. I have the Zoom app downloaded. We recommend, if you haven't had that after this year of pandemic, recommend you download it, but you can also access in your browser and then open Zoom meetings. And because I'm in a webinar on Zoom right now, I get a box asking me if I want to join that, but you would, if this was your scheduled meeting time, you would be taken right into that Zoom meeting. A third way, and this is very popular way to access your scheduled meetings, is in your Outlook calendar. So by default, the partnering system is going to push all of your scheduled meetings and any reschedule or cancellation updates into your Outlook calendar. So you can go straight into your Outlook and just use that the same way that you would join any other virtual meeting. And then looping back really quickly on the question of the Zoom app versus joining in browser, you can join the Zoom meetings either way. And again, those links are automatically provided by Bio. You can join them in the app or the browser. If you've got the app, which is free to download and pretty easy to install, recommend using that for just the most seamless user experience. But if you're not able to download apps due to, your IT team security settings or something like that, you could also join them in your browser as well. All right, now, a lot of people have also asked about best practices for managing their message centers and, kind of how to be more effective and how can I make more efficient use of my time in the message center. So one of those ways is by using tags. And there's a feature up here at the top. So let's say this meeting request, the tags and tagged delegates section. So you can create a new tag by typing in here, and you can make it whatever you would like, maybe immunology, for instance, and now I've created a new tag. So what we most frequently see is people tend to use tags to segment by therapeutic area, sometimes by specific indication or disease, or they may call out kind of the name of a particular team inside their company. I mean, you can more or less type anything in here. You can also tag a particular colleague. So maybe I need to add my colleague, Mackenzie. I want to draw this meeting request to her attention so she takes a look at it. So in that case, then I can tag Mackenzie directly in the meeting request. And when she goes into the partnering system, she'll be able to view that here in the request that you are tagged in section. So I encourage you to take advantage of the tags if that makes sense for you, and especially if you're working in a collaborative environment with team members, that can be quite helpful. So that's first, is the tags in the message center. A second piece are the participant filters. So there's a couple of ways to do this. If you click into the advanced filters here, let's say, you may want to find, for example, all of the meetings in which you are a participant. So I'll just select myself here and click filter. And then now I can see all the meeting requests that I'm listed on. And maybe I only want to see the ones that are scheduled for the day. So then I can use on the left side the schedule filter. And now it's all the meetings that I am on that are scheduled. So some great advanced filters over here in the message center that can really be helpful. You can also filter in your message center by tags, or even things that are not tagged delegates, so the way that I tagged Mackenzie, as well as by company types and even when the company registered into the partnering system. Another helpful thing over here, I'm just going to go back to all, you can use the meeting status tags. So if you only want to see ones that are declined or scheduled or what have you, you can use those along the left side, along with incoming and outgoing, and then messages that have not yet been read. So great things to be able to see here in the message center. Another important point to note is that in the partnering system, it's a B2B or business to business sort of system, which means please don't cancel a meeting simply because you don't want to participate in it. If I click cancel on this meeting, that means anyone from my organization that might have been listed as a participant is going to get canceled off of it as well. And that's not necessarily going to be what you want. So if you want to remove yourself from a meeting request, just click edit in your company's participant section. We've got quite a few participants, and you can remove yourself here or add any other colleagues that already have availability. If you see, let's say I want to add Mackenzie, but she doesn't have any free time slots, you may want to ping her and ask her to adjust her partnering calendar to get into the meeting. Or if I've maybe already spoken with her, perhaps she's given me some specific times. If it's already scheduled, I'll go find the time that it's scheduled for and maybe open that time in her partnering calendar and save it. So that's just something to keep in mind about picking participants and not canceling entire meetings if you simply wish to remove yourself. One other thing is that as you're looking at your message center, you're also going to want to make sure that you are able to follow up pretty easily with people even after BioDigital has ended. And so that's going to take us to our sixth question, which is, can I send my contact information to another company in the partnering system? The answer to that question is yes. And I'll show you where. So if you go, again, upper right corner, edit your personal profile. Toward the bottom, there's a delegate contact information section, and you can put in your preferred email address here, or autofill the email address that you use for your partnering login, and add your phone number. Just remember to include your country code because we are a very international event and we have people from dozens of countries participating, so you'll want to be sure that you've got that country code listed. So once you have entered this information into your delegate profile, what you can do is on any meeting request, regardless of its status, it doesn't have to be scheduled, you can click Share My Contact Information, and you'll get a box here saying that your contact info will be posted in the message thread. All the delegates from both companies, yours and the other, will be able to see the info, and just asking you to confirm that. And we do that because we respect and value your privacy and want to make sure that you're only giving out your information to companies when you explicitly intend to do so. So I'll click yes right here. And now the system has dropped in the email address and phone number that I had listed in my profile. If you haven't yet entered your contact info and you click this Share My Contact Information button, the system is just going to say, hey, we don't have info for you yet. Please click here, and push you along the process so that you can enter that information. And then you'll be able to share the contact info for follow-up after the conference. Also, quick disclaimer on BIOS privacy policy. So when you share this contact information, that is not something that's in the public search or anything like that, and it's not going to be sent to all of your companies that you're meeting with. It's meeting by meeting, company by company, to make sure that you're giving that out specifically only to the folks that you want to do so to. And people also ask, so question 6.5, people sometimes ask, hey, I get emails from time to time that say, hey, that we have the BioDigital attendee list. Click here and pay us X amount of dollars. So first thing, we don't sell our attendee list, so that's actually not what's happening. We do not, sell contact information, those sorts of things, certainly not out of the partnering system. So if you get one of those sorts of emails, it's kind of a fake news item. There's like the spammers that say you need to fork over your info because you owe money to the government, that sort of thing. So please don't respond to those requests or click on them. But while we're on the topic of emails, I do want to jump over to the profile, because the only area where there is an email address that could be exported by anyone in the system is here in the main email on your company profile. And just like all the rest of the info in your company profile, right, this is visible, it's searchable. So if you were to do a search export, you could export this email address. So we typically don't see people put in their personal email address here, maybe like an info@bio.org or a kind of generic email like that here. Same thing with phone number. So this would be exportable in the search, but the contact information that you put in your message center is only viewable by those companies that you have specifically selected to access it. That takes us to question number 7, which is about which items can be exported from the partnering system and how. So there's a couple of several export options here, and let's look at each of them in turn. So first, we'll start off in the search section. So a couple of things here. In the upper right-hand corner, there is an export button. So you could export the entire list of companies, but sort of caveat, I don't know how to say, let the user of the partnering system beware. Caveat partner, if you click export in the entire company list, it's going to take a while because we've got lots of information here. So you're going to get kind of a spinning wheel for a bit there and a longer download time. What is usually more useful is to run your search to kind of identify targeted lists of companies, and then you may want to export that into a Microsoft Excel format to take offline. So anything that you search, whether in the companies, delegates, assets, market products, or services tab, you can export those here. Next, let's go into the calendar, and there are a few different places where you can do this. So you can both print or export your individual or company calendar. Just keep in mind that the individual calendar has all your items on it. So partnering meetings, educational sessions, personal events, personal notes, all that's on the individual calendar. Whereas your company calendar is only going to be scheduled partnering meetings on there for simplicity. So you can always export these items, and there is also an option to export from the partnering homepage as well, so it's always easy to access your calendar. Sometimes people ask, what is ICS? What does that mean? So that's in the Internet Calendar File format. One of the best things about Bio 101 partnering, which is unique from most other systems, is that your meetings are going to automatically push into your Outlook. So you don't have to go through the terrible rigmarole of exporting a version of your calendar and then a meeting gets rescheduled, so you have to export it again and like merge them. You don't have to do that with Bio one-on-one partnering. But should you choose to export your calendar file to whatever, send to a colleague, import into Google Calendar, something like that, you can also do that here from the calendar section. Another thing that we can do in the message center is you can also export things here. So I can either export all of my meeting request data, or I can apply some of those handy filters that we looked at a bit earlier to get a more detailed list or more specific list of items to export. And then finally, looking at the exports, I also wanted to highlight how you export a list of the companies that you have bookmarked. So this process is just a couple of extra clicks. And the way to do that is once you've added items, for example, I have some companies that I have bookmarked here. So let me jump back to my search. So let's say I want to identify only the things that I have bookmarked. What I'll do is click Advanced Search, and then scroll down here a bit. We've got so many filters, but scroll down here a bit to Company Bookmarked and click Yes. And then on Search Now. So now I can see all of the companies that I have bookmarked, the delegates that my colleagues and I have bookmarked, the assets, the market products, and the services. So that's how you do it. It's through the advanced search. And then once you are done with that, you can just click the X or clear out your search there using the clear button. While we're in the search section, that takes us to question number 8. Excuse me, which search operators can I use for basic searches? So of course, let's just jump back to companies here. You can always do a basic text search, right? You can always put in something like oncology and kind of start scrolling through the list and going through in that way. However, if you'd like to be more specific for something, you can put it in double quotes. So for example, rare disease in double quotes is going to find that exact phrase of rare disease versus rare disease without the quotes could find things, let's just look at that example, finds a much broader set of companies, 590 instead of I think it was 102, because it's looking for the word rare or the word disease somewhere in the profile. So double quotes are really helpful. And you can also use those when you're doing a Google search, a really handy little trick there. Another thing to keep in mind is the and the or operator. So let's say you're looking for companies with monoclonal antibodies. I'll just put MAB here that are used for cancer. So I may put MAB and all caps, it needs to be in all caps, cancer. And so that will find me profiles that have both of those terms specifically listed, and then it may be relevant for me to click into the assets section here and start looking through these assets. And look at all these unpartnered assets. So much right for partnering here at BioDigital, so a good thing to keep in mind as well. And if you're wondering about other search tips or kind of other things that you can do, we do have a search tips section up here toward the top of the screen, and so you can read about some of the different examples of other little tips and tricks on how to be as effective as possible in the search section. Speaking of search, that is going to take us to our next question, which is, which search filters are the most helpful? So there isn't necessarily a blanket answer to this in the sense that different search filters may be more relevant, I'm just going to clear this, for different types of companies, but I will highlight the search filters that are most popular or that are used the most frequently. So what you'll want to do is, again, go to the advanced search. If you are not using the advanced search, we highly recommend that. I mean, frankly, you can just save a lot of time by going in here and selecting things more specifically rather than trying to create a really, really long, kind of complicated text search in the basic search bar there. But when you're looking at search filters that are helpful, a lot of the most common ones are things like company type. So perhaps you're looking for the biotech or pharma therapeutic R&D section. There's a great feature here to see companies that you've previously met with. So I'm going to pause here and click on that and click search now. And here's another great feature about bio partnering is that the system sees your company's previous meeting activity. So if you were with us for 2021 JP Morgan Week, CEO Digital, BioInvestor Forum, any of the, any previous events using the Bio Partnering system, the system knows that. And so you'll be able to see all of the companies that you have met with and the delegates from those companies. So that is how you find who have I met with before, which is very useful. So then you can click on the number where it shows the prior meeting, and you'll be able to see that my good friend Linda Pullen and I met at the 2019 Bio International Convention, and I can even go back and read that message thread back from 2019. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of the meeting history. That's why we are very specific in making sure the email addresses match and things like that. When you register, sometimes it takes a few extra minutes because we're verifying your information. This is why we want to make sure that you get attached to the right company in the system so that you can have access to all of that previous meeting history and all of this rich information, just because it will make your conference experience that much better. All right, so I took a detour, but we're gonna go back to the advanced search filters. So company type is useful. Previously met company is great. Also, the licensing objectives section, you can see companies that are seeking in or out licensing opportunities or both. Primary therapeutic areas here. So it could take a moment or two to get a little bit familiar with the therapeutic area disease tree. A lot of people ask, where can I find cancer or oncology? It's actually housed under the neoplasm heading, and then we have cancer here and many subdivisions, but you can use this section. And include children means include subcategories. So if I click that and select cancer, it will also search for any of these subcancers here. So you can also use the primary therapeutic area, which is really a great one, and helps you to, again, quickly narrow down that company set. Okay, so let's go back through a couple of others in the advanced search that we find people really get a lot of value out of. So we looked at therapeutic area. Keep in mind, so if you, let's say you log into the system every Monday and Thursday, that's kind of your ritual when you go into Bio Partnering. And you only want to see the companies that have registered since last Thursday or last Friday. So just click in this company registration field. You can either choose one of these predefined date periods, or maybe I click custom filter. And I want to know, let's see, today's the 24th, and I logged in last Thursday. So I'm going to look here and just say if you've been in since Thursday through today, and look specifically at those new companies, and we can see that there's almost 200 new delegates and lots of new companies that have registered. So that's a great way. People ask, well, how can I make sure I'm not searching on the same companies over and over again or re-reviewing them many times? This company registration date filter is going to allow you to do that most efficiently. Then a couple of others very quickly here. Of course, there's country and state, and we looked at, company being bookmarked or another item being bookmarked. We also have the investor-specific search criteria toward the bottom. So if you are someone who is seeking funding, looking for investment opportunities, there's two things you need to know. One is that to only see investors, you can just click this investors only little switch right here, and it'll narrow that list down. And two is that there are these investor-specific criteria toward the bottom of the advanced search. So you'll want to make sure to take advantage of those. And just to be clear, if you start entering any criteria under the investor-specific section, it's not going to show you general companies. It will only show you companies that are tagged as investors. All right. That takes us to one of our last questions, which is, what are the best tips for filling out my company profile? So I'm going to bounce back over to our profile. And the first thing to notice here is, because we see this from time to time, this picture at the top is not for your face. That is for your company's face, aka your company's logo. So just make sure if you're going to upload your delegate headshot, do that here in your personal profile. But this top one is supposed to be your company logo. But some of the fields that are most frequently searched on, company type is of course important. Naturally, keywords, just like running a Google search, you want to get those, any relevant keywords that make sense for your company and your assets, get those in there. Brief description of the primary text fields that people are really looking at in detail. So we encourage you to be thoughtful about this. It doesn't have to be 30 pages, parentheses, shouldn't be 30 pages long. You want it to be kind of digestible to people, but do more than 2 or 3 sentences as well so that it's effective. Also keep in mind that when you enter in a link here, so like a full link with the HTTPS // when you enter in a link here, it'll render as a link. So we've got in our news section this about a Good Day Bio, which is great. And so you can jump right over into that link directly from the company profile. A couple of other things to note here in the middle, assets, services, and market products. I'm going to focus mainly on assets. We see this a lot. You can also, of course, add any services or market products. But whether you have, small molecule drug, if you've got a biologic, if you have a gene therapy, there's lots of things that can count here under manage assets. So we'd encourage you to list that information as much as possible here. And then another good thing to note is toward the bottom right, we have the content section. And this is where you can upload files, upload pitch decks and one-pagers and those sorts of things. The thing to note is anything you upload here is going to be publicly visible on your company profile. So don't put in some confidential information here. That's not what you're going to want to do. You'll want to swap contact information in the message center and email that over to your partner. But this is great because you can then attach these items as linked resources onto your meeting requests. And you can also embed YouTube videos. So as we see more and more companies really getting more active with multimedia and things like that, you can upload a YouTube video link here. So you would just click the arrow, embed video. And here is where you're going to insert the link from your YouTube video. So it's the embed link. If you go to youtube.com, there's an embedded section. It's a really long link that's in HTML. Put that here, and then you can just put the name, whatever you want to call your video. So that's what's supposed to go here in this field is the embedded video link. Now that hits through our top 10 questions that we have been receiving, plus some of my extra anecdotes, but a couple of additional things that I want to call everyone's attention to here. One is about your notification preferences. So sometimes people say, hey, I feel like I'm getting a lot of emails, or my colleague isn't getting an email about meeting requests, that sort of thing. So let's look at where you can change your preferences on what meeting request emails you receive. I'll just go right back. There's several places where you can access this, but for convenience, I'll go to edit my profile, personal profile again. And then at the bottom, there's access your notification preferences. So the thing to know here, first of all, if you turn off, this is kind of the master switch, the emails one. This is the most important one. If I turn this off, everything goes off. Absolutely every email goes off. You're not going to get any of the automated meeting request emails from the partnering system. So if something gets rescheduled, that is not going to push on your Outlook calendar. You're not going to get an email about it. You'll have to go into the partnering system to see that info. So we don't recommend turning off everything. If you want to customize the specific meeting request emails you get, you can do that using all of these toggles here. Just keep in mind that the all meeting requests section, this is going to apply to meeting requests that your company receives. So if you have this new request received on and somebody sends, your company A, somebody sends company A a meeting request, you're going to get an email about that along with any of your other colleagues from your company profile who will also receive an email. If you only want to hear about meetings where you're a participant, you can just have these enabled in the meetings in which you're a participant section. And if you want to look at info on your company's meetings, specifically basically changing or getting an update, like a reply only message here with the meeting messages category, you can do that here. The big important point here is the iCalendar Updates ICS. That may not sound important, but what it does is that is the push to Outlook feature. So if you turn this off, when you get meetings scheduled, rescheduled, it gets canceled, etc., the system's not going to push that into your Outlook anymore. And it's not retroactive. So I can't keep this off for all of the time heading up to BioDigital and then turn it on June 14th. It's not retroactive, so it's not going to reach into the past and push you out new email notification or calendar notifications. So if you don't want any emails, I'd say you can turn all of these off, but leave this one, the ICS one on. That way you can have that helpful Outlook feature. And just keep in mind too that your meeting request preferences port from conference to conference for your convenience. So maybe you switch some of this stuff off for Bio 2020. You may just want to pop into your notification preferences and check. All right, and one of the last pieces here, what do I do if I want to reschedule a meeting that is already scheduled? So what you can do in that case is just go to your message center, find that meeting, and click reschedule. Then you'll go through the same exercise of looking for a green time slot, meaning it's mutually available. Maybe I want to put it here. And then you can either use a virtual meeting provided by the event, virtual meeting link, that's going to be one of Biozoom links, or you can enter in your virtual meeting location. I am a maximum convenience sort of guy, so I'm going to click use a virtual meeting link provided by the event, and then click confirm and schedule. And as you can see, the partnering system has automatically given me a new unique Zoom link here for this meeting. And right now on my phone, I'm just kind of getting some silent buzzing over here saying that I've got an updated meeting with Umbrella Consulting. So if you want to reschedule, use the reschedule button. The request reschedule button, you don't really need to use that so much for this conference. This was used more for an on-site environment. What will happen here is if you click request reschedule, this meeting will get put into a queue, and then our auto-scheduling algorithm is going to look at it and see if it can find another mutually available time. However, we haven't quite gotten the auto-scheduler to be like Siri, where it's almost reading your mind. So even if you've written in some specifications about what time you'd like it to be, the auto-scheduler won't necessarily be able to take that into account. So in that case, either our staff will look at it, or the quickest way is just to click reschedule, and then you can choose the perfect time that you like yourself. One important note to keep in mind is that Biozoom links, so any of the virtual meeting links that you get provided by us, those links open 5 minutes before your scheduled meeting time, and they close 10 minutes after a meeting. So this meeting is Tuesday, June 15th at 11. If I click into the link at 10 a.m. instead of at 11 a.m., it's not going to let me in. It will pop up a message and say, your meeting is scheduled to start at 11 a.m. on June 15th. If I click into the meeting at, let's say, 10:59 and it starts at 11, then I'll be able to go ahead and access the meeting. And it runs for 30 minutes. As do all of our meetings for BioDigital. So in order to keep everything running efficiently for people, the meeting room links are going to basically close out 10 minutes after a meeting. That means if you have a 30-minute meeting and you want to talk for an hour, you want to talk for 2 hours, you can always send another meeting request or share your contact information to arrange outside. We're really focused on making sure that we get those initial and follow-up connections from BioDigital. So we do restrain it to kind of that 30-minute time period plus those 5 minutes in the beginning and 10 minutes afterwards. All right, so we have moved through kind of a lot of content here, but before I cover a little bit of additional information from BioDigital, why don't we take some questions from the Q&A? So I'll come back to the checklist here for the timeline. But if you have questions, you can submit those, please, in the Q&A panel, and I will start reviewing those questions here right now. All right, we've got a question here. Would you recommend that service companies apply to present to? Excuse me. Yes, so there's a variety of different company types that participate in company presentations, Sybil. So whether you're biotech, pharmaceutical companies, service providers can also get a lot of value out of giving a company presentation. So if you want more info on that, I'll send the link out after the webinar's over. But at BioDigital, you can also go on here, and we have information about the company presentations. Actually, let me go back up to the top. And in the education section in here, you can find more info on the company presentation. So definitely encourage you to do that. Let's see, how can we see the agenda and import selected talks into individual calendar? No agenda is shown yet when I log into my individual profile as of last week. All right, so why don't we flip back over into the partnering calendar? This is a great question in case you're wondering how you can find specific sessions. So here on the right side of the calendar, sessions and education topics, if you just click, I happened to be in bioimpact for the bioeconomy, but if you click in these different categories, we've got all these different really great tracks going on. So maybe I click into, for instance, business development and finance, and then you see for Monday, some of my Monday tab here, you'll see all of the different programming in that category or that track that's available. So let's say I want to add this raising capital session, kind of the part 2 here on SPACs and IPOs, I can click on add there, and depending on whether I want to prioritize a partnering meeting, I would click yes, or if I really want to prioritize this session, then I click no to block off my partnering calendar there. So this is how you access the information. You can also click view all to see a comprehensive list, but it can be pretty convenient to just go through the different tracks. Just keep in mind, you'll want to cycle through the different days of the events too, because we've got a great education going on during various days of BioDigital. The only day that's kind of partnering only is going to be Friday, June 18th. What about the time zone difference? Does the calendar adjust it per each party's preference? Great question. So in the partnering calendar, left side here, everyone as a kind of universal standard is going to see the conference time zone, which for BioDigital this year is slated as Eastern Daylight Time. And then the partnering system will automatically detect your local time zone for where you are, basically kind of your computer or your browser's time. If you want to switch that time zone for some reason, you can do it here using this click here to change button in the time zone section. But basically the take home here is that you don't have to worry about the time zone of the other company, because they are going to select the times on their partnering calendar that work for them. You're going to select the times that work for you. So you don't we don't present you with the time zone of every single person, because that would be impossible to schedule and be really difficult. So all you have to do in the calendar, or excuse me, in the message center, when you're scheduling, is to find one of those green time slots that's mutually available. Or if you're letting your meetings be auto-scheduled and you're kind of doing the set it and forget it approach, then you won't really have to worry about that. Just make sure if you are having your meetings be auto-scheduled, pop back into your partnering calendar maybe every week or so and just kind of update your calendar with any new availability as needed. Let's see, Lazar, how do I save a search? Yes, excellent question. I actually meant to show everyone that earlier. So let's say that I have a search. I'll just do a basic one here. I put in oncology. Up here at the top, there is a save search as new option. So I'll just click on that. And then the one that I just did, right, new search May 24th is here. So I can just rename that one to oncology, click the check mark, and now that search is saved. What that means is, I'll close out of it. I'm going to clear this so that we're fresh. Now, when I go into saved searches, see, I've got a new tag. The system knows I just created this new oncology saved search. So I can just click on that and it'll run oncology. Now, that's just one word, right? Very easy case. But if you are really taking advantage of some of these advanced search filters and the different features that we've gone through together today, you can be a lot more effective. So for instance, I am going to go to saved searches here, and I have done one for companies based in the US or Japan that are oncology companies with cancer as their primary therapeutic area. So I did all those advanced search items, and then I can just click here, and boom, I have a fresh list of those companies. This is really handy to do because especially as you get kind of more advanced and get these more specific combinations of different advanced search filters, you can just save them and run that same search more easily, which makes things a lot faster for you. And then if I take this one, my kind of US or Japan cancer companies, I can also apply that with the company registration date. So maybe only those types of companies that have registered within the last 2 weeks, search now, and now I get a super specific list that is very tailored to my needs. So really encourage everyone to take advantage of the saved search feature. It can really save you a lot of time. Let's see, how do I move to a request a meeting from a bookmarked asset in my search? Okay, so if you have, let's say that you are in the assets section and I think that this particular asset is interesting and maybe I've bookmarked this item, so I click the star and bookmark here. If you're in the bookmarks section, let's say I'm here in the assets. So when I click on this asset, it's going to bring up the information that's here. So if I want to reach that company, I can just click here on that company's name, and then I can pull out their profile here and just click the request meeting button. For the content upload section, is there any file size or type limitation? Great question. So again, the content section is here. Excuse me, toward the bottom right of your company profile. So there is a file size limit. So it's files that are less than 10 megabytes you can upload here. And it's really most of the kind of common file types that you'd expect: PDFs, Word docs, Excel spreadsheets, and all of those sorts of things are going to be available, and you can upload those common file types in here. Images, those sorts of things, short videos. We accept the major video formats as well. If there is a file that is more than 10 megabytes, because we want to avoid kind of bogging down the system too much from the storage perspective, we would encourage you to upload that to perhaps your own space or website, file storage, etc. And you can also just drop a link to it. Maybe you use Dropbox or perhaps Google Drive, something like that. You can always just include a link and say, here is a one-pager, here is such and such and such. Definitely could encourage you to include that in your company's description. Let's see. Okay, clicking through some others. Is there a way to sync my Outlook calendar with the Bio calendar, similar to what Calendly does? So what I've described before about the kind of push to Outlook feature is a little different than Calendly, in the sense that the partnering system isn't reading all of everything on your Outlook calendar, right? It's pushing it in one direction out from the system to your Outlook. Bio we're not interested in taking a bunch of your personal information or knowing about all of your other meetings, etc. So for privacy meetings, we don't have that sort of functionality enabled. But again, you can have all of your scheduled partnering meetings will push automatically onto your calendar, and can actually also push over your programming sessions into your Outlook. Let's see, mark that one. And can I delegate scheduling to my assistant? So there's a couple of ways to sort of slice that question. You can, of course, just allow the partnering system to automatically assign meeting times and Biozoom links if you prefer. If you do have an assistant that is in the system that's going to be basically working on your behalf, you could also have that person log in. In that specific situation, you could have that person sort of log in as you and do that scheduling on your behalf. Let's see, can we share Biozoom links if we want to bring people into the discussion, or are they specific to individuals? So the Biozoom links are specific to the particular meetings. Like they're not reused rooms, that sort of thing. They're specific to particular meetings. And so you will want to make sure that any of your colleagues who want to participate are also registered. And then I think we have another file size. We talked about that one. So any last questions in the Q&A? If not, we can you can always email those over to biopartnering@bio.org, and we will be happy to help you out. Let's flip back over to a couple of final pieces of information here. First, we're just going to go back quickly to the BioDigital Let's checklist a little bit more of a timeline. So remember that the innovation stage will be available the Thursday and Friday before the week of partnering begins for BioDigital. So from June 10th and 11th, you will be able to kind of go in, for example, see those company presentations, the academic campus, and a lot of those other areas, and begin to engage with those folks. And that gives you a couple of days in advance of the partnering meetings beginning, so that you can go into the partnering system then, and if you see those companies that are interesting, you can shoot them a meeting request so that you can try to get that scheduled before partnering begins on Monday. BioDigital's programming and events, the education sessions, etc., we're going to be running from the 14th through the 17th. So that's the Monday through the Thursday of BioDigital. And then the partnering meetings will be the Monday through Friday, again, running 24 hours, or really according to whatever times that you have selected on your partnering calendar for the Monday through the Friday of BioDigital Week. And one other popular question that we have received is, how long does the partnering system remain open? So I want to be very clear about this. You'll still be able to log in to Bio 101 Partnering for 2021 BioDigital for at least a year after the event. So we give you plenty of time for your post-event follow-up, that sort of thing. The thing that you can't do after June 18th is send new meeting requests, because the event will be over. We're no longer assigning Biozoom links, that sort of thing. So what that means is that if you have companies that are already in your message center, for example, so like I'm here in my message center, any of these companies I've already been communicating with, even once BioDigital is over, at the end of June 18th, I can still reply only to them, write back and forth, you follow up on things, have a conversation, etc. I will not be able to still schedule meetings. I will not be able to still send new meeting requests, though, after June 18th has ended. So just some helpful information to keep in mind. And with that, we're just about running up on our time. So thank you again, everyone, so much for joining. Really glad to have you all today. We had some great questions. If you have any additional questions, you can also email those over to our team at biopartnering@bio.org. If you've got questions on registration or kind of more general inquiries, you can send those over to customercare@bio.org, and our team will be happy to help you with those. Keep in mind that anyone who has registered for the webinar will receive the recording of this webinar along with the slides here in the next couple of business days. And so we definitely hope to have everyone register for BioDigital. The links will be inside this presentation, but when in doubt, you can also just go to the BioDigital website very easily from bio.org and our events page. Actually, I'm just going to do it right now. So from here, you can just go right into the event section, and then BioDigital, boom, there's a register version button right here from our homepage. And keep in mind as well, this is kind of the last tier of pricing, if you will, before the final increase on June 10th. So definitely encourage you, if you've not registered yet, lock in the lowest available rate at this time by registering here in the next couple of days. We already have several thousand meetings scheduled, so encourage you to register ASAP so that you can make the most of your time at BioDigital. And with that, thank you all so much for joining. We are so happy to have you join us for BioDigital and really proud, honestly, to be supporting an industry that is literally changing the world and certainly has changed the world so much during the pandemic that we've all been going through together. So with that, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you may be joining us from, and we will see you at BioDigital.